keep your opinions to yourself. Hopefully you could start off with putting a smile on your face, even if it is just laughing at my hair. So first and foremost, I just want to say welcome and great to have you on here. It's been quite a while since I've done a live on the Summit page. Depending on where, as our American friends for Jessica and Jim Bob say, where all y'all are calling in from, you can just let us know in the comment section and let us know where you're tuning in from. You can tag your friends, let people know, because it usually takes a minute or two before we actually get going live. And as you can see, Jim Bob's mobile and getting set up in the studio there. So first and foremost, I just want to give, we'll go in the circle here real quick. Dr. Jessica, Dr. Jim Bob, and then Tom, just do a brief little intro about who you guys are and what you do. I know most people know who you are, but there might be some people that have no idea who these good-looking people are on Facebook right now. So Dr. Jessica, just do a brief little intro.
Hello, so I am Dr. Jessica, and my website is the All Natural Family Doc. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years now, going on 26, and I teach on a 4-pillar support. There's structural support, there's nutritional support, environmental support, and emotional support. And I think the two real big ones to talk about is going to be how do you maintain all 4 of those pillars in the middle of this crisis, and how do we maintain sanity, and how do we maintain our emotional composure when we're not in control of anything?
Very well said, and I agree, because I think that's a lot of the concerns that are going around. So very cool. Dr. Jim Bob, if you want to go give a brief little intro.
You bet. Hey guys, Dr. Jim Bob Haggerton, like Dr. Jessica, I'm a chiropractor. This is my 17th year in practice. We've specialized since day one in family wellness and functional medicine. And so my biggest gifting is in making difficult things simple. That's it, because the body really is simple, and the way it's created is simple, and being healthy is very, very simple. It's just not easy. And especially in a season like this when it's really hard to get away from the stress because you're really shoved into it. And so, just going back to the simple things a lot of times is a lot less stressful and a lot easier to manage. My website's drjimbob.com, doctor spelled out. We have classes and courses and things like that in there that are free right now. We opened up for everybody to be able to get in there, just to be able to get some sanity in the midst of all the crazy. So I'm glad to be on.
Cool. Thanks, Dr. Jim Bob. All right, and that was the Americans. For those of you who are wondering, now we're going to hear from the Canadians, as in Barney and Tom.
Okay.
So Tom.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Woloshyn. I've been practicing for 40 years now. I started with Stanley Burroughs' work using the Master Cleanse color therapy and VitaFlex. So I've been practicing VitaFlex for, as they say, 40 years. Did level 1 trainings for Young Living for a couple of years. And I travel mostly throughout the world teaching and treating people. I work on a mostly, well, I should say holistic level, mind, body, and spirit, which I'll be discussing, as I'm sure the other 2 doctors will be as well, and giving my interpretation of what needs to be done and how to take care of yourself. And hope you all enjoy this presentation that Barney's put together for all of us. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barney.
Cool. Awesome. So perfect. So what we're going to do now, as Tom kind of slid in that American slang we're all going to listen to, I like to have fun with all my American friends. We love all y'all up here north of the border. And just for the record, we don't all live in igloos. This is not an igloo, but sometimes I think that maybe living in an igloo right now would be a good idea. So without all joking aside, what we're going to do is I'm going to pop Dr. Jim Bob and Tom out, so then Jessica and I can just talk about a couple of things. If you guys have questions about anybody or just in general, you can post them. I'm going to do my best to moderate, but as I jokingly say, with my wonderfully skilled male brain, multitasking is not always my forte, so just be patient with me there. And also know, before we switch gears here with putting Dr. Jessica on first, is that the other 2, Tom and Jim Bob, are going to be there, and also that this is going to be on our page, and meaning that if you come to this after, you can watch it as a replay. You can, just engage. We just want to have fun and support each other for not just for people in Young Living, even though this is on the Young Living or the YL Summit page. It's really just about supporting everybody, but I think the majority of you are going to be involved with Young Living on some level, or at least I would assume, okay, or presume, okay? So let me do this here. Jim Bob, you're muted, and Tom, and here we go. All right, Dr. Jessica, it's you and I here. So why don't you give us your, I mean, I have some questions, but why don't you just start with your thoughts? I know that in the email that I sent out, I'm going to see if I can find your link when you're talking to post it in here to your blog on your page. It was really great about what, just sharing with your perspective on it. But why don't you just tell us a little bit about your thoughts? Kind of, I know that it's not possible to exactly summarize the entire article, but just in a nutshell, if somebody didn't read it, why don't you just start off with your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, basically, I wrote the article to kind of give some switching of belief systems into a host theory versus germ theory. And right now we're being inundated with the germ theory. This virus is out there. It's coming to get you. It doesn't matter if you're old or young. It's unknown. It's got all the components of a great movie, right? So what do we know and what can we take control of? And that is ultimately the host, right? This is our body. And what do we know about the human body? It does well on fresh foods. It does horrible on sugar. So right there, some of you are in panic mode. It doesn't do well in high stress. And so, take away people's jobs, take away kids' schools, put them all in one small room, and you've increased your stress levels. So what can we do in all of this time to kind of refresh? Because in my mind, what I'm thinking about is there is not going to be going back to normal. We're going to have a new normal. We need to be prepared for things that might come up like this. And how do we do that? So one of the things is we look at what can we do within our own homes. Some people are being allowed outside. Some people are not being allowed outside. What does that look like? And I think in a lot of ways, maintaining some certain structure is always positive, but yet allowing some freedom to come in so you can really start to evaluate what is not working with you and your family. And I'll give you an example. I was talking with a mom the other day whose 6-year-old was having practice up until 8:30 at night for one of their soccer games. And she said, it never dawned on me that 8:30 at night was too late for my kid to be running around playing soccer, was because that's just what we do. Everybody's there. Everybody does it. And I think if nothing else, this time should really give us an ability to look at what is not working for our families currently, and what do we need to change, and how do we go about changing that. And anytime we start looking at that, it's belief systems and what can we take a hold of our belief system. Do we believe that we're sick? Do we believe that we've got to run 90-0? Do we believe we have to be in all these activities? And where did that belief system come from? And now it's the time to change all of that. So that's kind of why I wrote the article, was just to kind of give some moments to think, which, turn off the TV, turn off the phones, turn off all the stimulus that's coming in, and really sit down and hunker with what's working with your family and not working with your family, and redesign it. And so that was the purpose.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think the part that when you were talking, as I was listening, thinking about, there's this fine balance of being prepared and not being scared. I think Jim Bob said this: be prepared, don't be scared. And it's this fine balance of I have taken this approach where if there's a world calamity or something going on, I'm going to hear about it. But the hard part is this is something we've never, I don't think most of us anyways, have actually experienced in our lifetime. And so to some degree, it's almost is this actually happening? Is this real? What's the level of severity that is the thing's actually going to go to? So I'm saying this all in response to your point about turning the media off, because I agree with that, controlling our input. But then there's the other side of my brain that's kind of well, crap, maybe if they're going to go completely into shelter at home or whatever's going to happen, we have to obviously be updated, but not getting completely sucked in, because I've had conversations with people that they're just completely sucked in and they have a hard time turning the news off. They can't get off Facebook or Instagram and like, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? And I think that it's important to be updated, but there's that fine balance. So.
Right. And with anything, you can put timetables on it. So where are you going to get your info from? And that's different for everybody. You know, a lot of with me, I'm checking on my particular county, and I'm checking with my state board. Right now, in my particular state, I'm considered primary care. So they're requesting us to stay open because I can do things in my office and keep people out of the ER. So that's what we're doing. So I'm checking two things: my county level, and I'm checking my state level, and then that's pretty much it. I'm staying off of the news because it's just, you know, again, going back to what makes the host very, very strong. If we're constantly inundated with stress and understand that TV programming is designed to stress you out, then our bodies can't heal. And so we need to have that downtime. The computers need to be off. The phones need to be off. Pick one time a day to check, or two, if you need to.
Your updates.
To check your updates and make sure nothing has changed. But right now, I think, I don't know about Canada, but I know in America, we're kind of all in a shelter in place situation with varying degrees of what's opened and not opened. And for the most part, that's not going to change past once or twice a day and checking. So being okay with putting things down and focusing on what's really going on, which is what's happening in your family right now.
Yes, I am in full agreement with that. And I think that, so great. So basically just simplify it to, or minimize it to once, twice. And if you're really on still the addicted side, maybe 3 times: morning, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
Maybe after you've eaten and your body's had a bit of time to digest your food. Although it can be a convenient time, modern convenient time to check up on things when you're eating, but that can be very challenging to digestion.
Right.
So what else do you have to share on this, like your thoughts about the long-term kind of, I guess you could say, ramifications, so to speak, or the effects or impacts that it might have on us all over the world, but specifically because the majority of us are in North America, here in Canada and the US.
Right. Well, I know I take care of a couple of big corporations and been on the phone with their CEOs, and it's fascinating to listen to them. They've got whole teams that are now evaluating the fact that their workplace is at home, and what's working with that, what's not working with that. How can they take this opportunity that has never been presented and come out stronger on the other side, and being willing to get rid of everything that they've done just because that's the way it's always been done. And I think that with that kind of attitude, being able to look hard at your own family, your own personal self, what is working for you? You know, I was talking with another patient who has a 45-minute commute twice a day. And I said, so use that 45 minutes as this newfound time to really dive into what you want to be doing differently. We're seeing schools jump online. We see universities have done this. You know, my husband just graduated from med school. In the first 2 years, he never had to go to class at all. It was all online. Now he went because he's old school and likes to be in front of the professor. But he was amazed at how many of his fellow classmates never went to school. So if we're doing that on a medical school level, you know, you're going to see that transition throughout more and more universities. So I think being able to have that flexibility and learning how to learn online is going to be the next real big change we see within the educational system. And we kind of already are seeing that. I mean, like the summits online, we're seeing a lot of people put things online. And I think this will just reinforce that as we go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I saw this years ago, which is why I decided to exit the gyms. My intention was to build full-time in Young Living. I'm still building, but it's more on a part-time basis, full-time running my marketing agency. I didn't see it going this way, but I see the need and the potential for that. And so it's although I wasn't thinking like, oh, there's going to be a big pandemic that's going to kind of force people into this. I was just like, I wanted to be more liquid and flexible to be able to travel the world with my family. And we're testing the grounds with that now after being gone in the States in America for almost a month. And we really enjoyed it. And it was then coming back where it's like, you know, as much as we feel like we're close together as a country, to two countries, Canada and the US, but then just thinking globally on countries all over the world. I mean, some of you might be tuning in from Germany, from the UK, maybe from Australia, and that we're all through Young Living connected, and in other ways still connected. That I think obviously the online platforms are amazing, and but I think people are really feeling that pinch of being where, or that the pressure of, you know, I can still connect with people and talk to people and communicate with them and FaceTime and Zoom or whatever, but then there's still the other complications of just, there's like been this, at least if it's a perception, even if we still have the connection of our family and friends, but even at a distance, there's that perception now that we've been temporarily isolated, which I don't think is a bad thing. But my personal sense is, and especially observation and experience talking to people, that they're having a really hard time with it because they realize how much reliance was in place there of being connected or plugged in to all the stuff that's going on. And now the everything that's on the media channels is about this, and it's challenging to kind of maintain. The way I say it is maintain your centeredness, or like to stay grounded, so you're not like all over the place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think reliance is a big word that needs to be looked at too. And that is one thing that, you know, I've always taught my patients, is that we need to get out of the grocery stores, become more reliant on small farmers. We need to know who they are. We need to connect with them. Obviously, right now we can't do all those things. But if you've established routines, if you've established those connections in the past, then your fear of food and your fear of things disappearing is a lot, you know, more relaxed.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of that going forward is I think what the country is really going to be looking at is why is our reliance on other countries, other places, other functions, and how can we bring that back home? And I
Yeah.
want to take that even further, is like, how can you take your reliance on things that you're not paying attention to and bring them back into your home? What are little things that you can do
Yeah.
so that if this does start to kind of be a norm,
Yeah.
that it's not such a shocker to us in the future?
For sure. And I made a joke. Somebody interpreted this as not very proper, but I live in Amish country. And so I said this because I grew up with Amish, and my dad does business with the Amish all around. And I said, we're right now in our family, we're kind of like Amish in a power outage. They don't, if the power goes out, they don't know any difference, right? They turn the wood stove on, they turn the generator on maybe, or their lamp lights. And for us, I'm just saying personally, Barney Kuntze and our family, you know, I feel very grateful and blessed to have kind of wanted to move to this position of being able to be at home. And but that doesn't change for a second that all of you watching be like, well, great, Barney, but I'm kind of freaked out because my job is like paused, or I can't go to work and I can't earn an income. And so I'm not saying like, haha, like Barney's. I think that's how this person took it. They took offense to it. And I was just expressing gratitude, saying I'm like an Amish person in a power outage. I don't feel as much of it, but I think that this is like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, speaking kind of like, and metaphorically, that I think a lot of the impacts economically are still yet to come. And right now they as in the global governments and whatnot are trying to maintain,
Figure that
keep
out.
just trying to keep it at so it doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. You know, I'm constantly telling everybody, myself, all my patients, you're the only one in control of what story your brain writes. So let's kind of look at a little bit bigger picture with this. You know, this is a disease or a virus that attacks the lungs. Lungs is where we tend to store grief. Right now, there's a lot of unknown because there's jobs that are unknown. Maybe you know, we've definitely had friends and family be fired because that's the reality of it. Small businesses had to fire rather than keep people employed. Um, there is going to be some really, really scary times financially for a lot of people. And that's where we've got to get a hold of the mindset, because when we start looking at the human body, we all have this radius that we send out energy, that thought process of I like you, I don't like you immediately. Well, they're now starting to prove that that's actually a connection that the hearts make, and they can pick that up to 12 feet away. And there's some really fascinating studies on this, heartmath.com, if you want to go look at them. But what they're starting to find out is that when we get out of control here, our heart wave gets a little bit out of control. And so then all of a sudden we start attracting the frequency that meets our brain, right? So if we're going to be scared and broke and angry, then guess what? We're going to find a lot of scared, broke, angry people, because they're going to zone in on that frequency. I think this is like bottom line. Oh, I can get totally geeked out about this, but I think bottom line, this is exactly why I fell in love with Young Living, because I had a great practice with structure, nutrition. I mean, had those down cold. Environment, super simple. But what I couldn't get people under control quickly was their emotions. And then along came these oils, and all of a sudden, you could say something to them and have them breathe in. And, I always do left and right breathing. So you breathe in the oil through the left nostril, then you breathe in the oil through the right nostril, and then you hold and do it again. And literally I would be like finishing the sentence and people would be like, oh yeah, okay, I gotcha. Like they would be visibly relaxing on my table talking to me. And I was like, wait a minute, we're onto something here. And that's why I dived in with Young Living, was completely on the emotional pillar. And so we have some incredible tools on our hand to control the stress response, and emotions only go about 90 seconds. So if you can control your emotional pattern for about 90 seconds, you can start to rewire it back over to the positive. And then does that make the world perfect? No.
Right.
It does make our mental components better, which then means our heart waves will start to regulate back out, and we'll start attracting in the people that are looking for solutions, that are happy, that are healthy. And then have you ever just like bumped into somebody and it was the perfect person that you needed to talk to at that moment?
Yeah.
Those things are not by accident.
Yeah.
It happens because we combine the two. And so I think that's one of the believe right now. Have that oil. I mean, it's amazing. Peace and calming. Have that oil. MU Power. Have that oil.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that I would really rely on right now.
Okay, cool. I think I agree with you on that. And I also wanted to comment. I was going to just pull this up real quick for Sophia and for everybody else who potentially missed it, because there's a couple hundred of you that are on here. If you came in late, or late, maybe a little bit after it started, this will be recorded. It will be on maintained. It's being recorded right now. And it'll be still on our Facebook page. You'll be able to share it. We're just going to keep it on here. We might even put it on YouTube so that it's on privately in case it gets pulled off the platform as well. And then I wanted to comment on this. So this is something that, this came up with one of the comments you had mentioned from Chrissy Higgins, had commented saying there's nothing like sitting together, people communicating. And I wholeheartedly agree. And I wanted to comment on this because then she also said phones and screens can't give it to you in a full way. And I 100% agree. I'm not, when I say doing online, I'm certainly not, and I don't think you are either, Dr. Jessica, that suggesting like, oh, well, whatever, there's all this stuff going on, so let's just stay here, hunker down in our house, and we can still talk to each other on the phone,
right.
Just through the screen. But in light of the fact that if we didn't have this kind of level of technology right now to have all four of us on at the same time to be able to connect, I feel like it would be potentially a lot worse, because at least we can still so there's a blessing and a curse on both sides. The one side is there's all this stuff that's coming at us and oh my goodness. And then there's the other side where we can still connect with people and communicate with them. And I think that what I love about it is just being able to at least stay connected in times when we couldn't before this technology and these platforms existed to give us the opportunity in the first place. Right.
Right. And I think a lot of that is also personality driven. The extroverts, the ones that gain energy.
I'm not blue at all.
like those are the ones hurting the most. I'm a social extrovert because I've had to be, on stage, but internally I like to be by myself a lot. And blessedly, so does my husband. So we're like, yes. But I get it. There's others out there who get their energy from other people. And I think those are the ones that we've got to come up with a new solution for. And
Yeah.
right now the only offer we do have is through the phones, is through the screens, is through Zoom, is through getting groups of people together, and kind of having virtual house parties. In fact, I think that's an app, virtual house party.
Yeah.
You can get now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. I think really great. Do you have anything else you wanted to share before? Because by the way, you're not going to get kicked out. I just want to bring Jim Bob on and then Tom. So if you want to chill out in the back there, you can. But anything else you wanted to share? While you're thinking and want to start talking, I posted this for you guys. This is on Dr. Jessica's site, allnaturalfamilydoc.com. The rest just easier to click on it in the link, so you can go through and read her post there. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for contributing, because I think that I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but I have a feeling we might need to do this again, because my sense is, without getting weird on people, although I'm already weird anyways and I'm fine with it, is the feel and the sense that I'm getting from the Summit community and Young Living and in general is that there's a lot of underlying worry and anxiety and concern about just a lot of this unknown. The unknown. And the thing is that the unfortunate, or the hard fact is that that's no different. This is no different than any other day. It's just that the landscape, the focus has changed. We ultimately don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow, when we're going to take our last breath, or when it's going to be our last sleep. That doesn't maybe sound warm and fuzzy, but I think if we can stay focused on that, then it to some degree brings a little bit more comfort, which I think we all could use right now. Absolutely.
And I think, I'm constantly saying there's only one consistent in any of our lives, and that is change. It always happens. Just when you think you're going along the path pretty good and you got it down, it changes.
Yeah.
And so I think, with all of this is let's sit back and see, what is this teaching us? To me, I've been around a while, so I get to speak from age. I haven't been around 40 years, so I think he'll get to speak from age more. But, it's like reading a book. Your life is exactly like reading a book, and you're kind of the co-author on it. And all you get to write is your experience for that page. And you don't know what the next page is going to bring. And all you can do is bring your experience to that next page and make it better.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of unknowns right now. What we do know is that, for most of us, tomorrow is going to be another day, and I can go into this with new knowledge and new experience, and then it's not a failure.
Right.
Failure in my mind is purposely going out and doing the same thing that did not work. That's failure. But going into something and saying, okay, yesterday didn't work at all, but here's what we did learn, and so we're going to tackle today with this new knowledge and see what it brings us.
Right.
And just keep going.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's awesome. Thank you. So I'll put you back in the I don't know what it's called, the waiting room, so to speak.
The green room.
Yeah, the green room. And I'm going to bring in Dr. JB here. Thank you so much, Jessica. Really appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you and talk to you. Awesome. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to be solo for a second. Jim Bob, I'm going to unmute him and should give him a countdown here now. Boom. Thank you. So he's here. How are you, Dr. Jim Bob? It's called the waiting room, so to speak. I think we have a bit of a delay here. Thank you so much, Jessica. Can you hear me?
I can't hear anything if you're talking to me.
Okay, I am. You're on now.
I got no sound.
You're on. This is weird. Okay, let me try and refresh the page. Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, goodness.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. Just hang on one second. Can you hear me? I can't hear anything if you're talking. Okay, you're on now. I got no sound. You're on. This is weird. Okay. Let All right, Jim Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
That's weird. I just had to refresh the screen, but here we are. And you're good to rock and roll. So welcome.
Sweet.
Nothing like a little bit of awkward technological issues to make a Facebook Live nice and fun.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you had a chance to be able to listen to Dr. Jessica. Why don't you share with us your thoughts? And while you're doing that, I'm going to copy the link from your page on your blog, put it up there for all y'all to get access to it. You can go ahead and see that. But what do you have for some nuggets of wisdom for us?
No, yeah, I was taking notes on my Remarkable tablet while she was talking, and you guys were chatting and everything. And Jess and I agree on tons of stuff because we, are out of the same mold. And it's a lot of the same stuff that I've been teaching on our site since day one, and that we've been teaching people is, this slogan that I literally said from the beginning is, "Don't be scared, but be prepared." Like, the problem that people have is it is a lot scarier when things happen when you're not prepared for things, whether that's emotionally, mentally, immune wise, food at your house, like basic stuff, and when government starts coming down saying, "Hey, we're going to shelter in place," and people don't even have enough food for 2 days, because that's a lot more of a reality, it's a lot more stressful. So, we've talked about that. And I do really think that the biggest thing that comes down to all of this is mindset. I mean, talked about this in a live video on Facebook the other day, and it really goes back to whether you really see this as an opportunity to just say, "Hey, you know what? I can't control a lot of the stuff going on out there right now, but I can, like Dr. Jessica said, I can control my mind space, and I can control how I react to it." And instead of freaking out and getting more stressed out and all the things, it's an opportunity for us to go, "You know what? I'm gonna figure out a plan, figure out where I'm at, find my my base zero, my ground 0 point, and then work off of there, and make sure that we're good." But yeah, I
Right.
mean, it's a crazy situation and a crazy setup right now for people because especially in America. I mean, everybody in the world is dealing with this, so I'm not negating what everybody else is dealing with all over the world. But in America, for sure, Americans are we're spoiled like rotten, like as far as just things being overall easy, being able to go to the grocery store and get what you want per se, as far as food, or like that kind of thing, like being able to have the freedoms to just like go around wherever we want most of the time. So it is a big wake up call of understanding what's important, understanding and knowing that we're really not that much in control like we thought we were. But being able to, like I said, kind of find your ground zero and get our head set right and go from there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think to some degree, it's almost like when, just to use this on the Young Living side, when compliance started really kind of hitting, kind of clamping down, it to some degree didn't change what was in place before. It was just that it was kind of being enforced. And just saying that, when we were, like you said, the freedoms that we have, the things that we take for granted, I don't think that, when we look at the side of the reality of the situation we're in now, we've kind of been, as a society, civilization, as a country, kind of forced into this where we have to look at it from the standpoint where, like, wow, like there was a lot, like you said, that we've taken for granted. And, distance makes the heart grow fonder. And so when we can't do those things, it's kind of like, well, it makes us feel more stressed because then
Right.
the things that we took for granted. So talk to us a little bit about that when it comes to stress, because Dr. Jessica mentioned a bit about it, but just walk us through some of the basics, I think from like everybody gets that, this is a big concern. There's things that are going on. We want to try to control our mindset, but kind of walk us down the path of like what can happen from a hormonal standpoint of like the effects on the body. And before you start rocking and rolling there, because I know it's going to be, you're going to go for a couple minutes. I just wanted to say that what Jessica said earlier about being able to control our response to this situation, that has an effect in our body, but I don't think a lot of people really actually fully realize the ramifications that it can have on our health by not being able to control our mindset and those biological effects in the body and, the issues that can come up from that. Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, man, there's a lot because I think a lot of people understand that, like, obviously stress is not healthy, and they get that whole part of it. I mean, that's been like the ad nauseum things that people have said in the medical field for a decade now. Oh, you're just stressed. Oh, Mrs. Jones, I know you got blood pressure problems. Just quit stressing out, or whatever the thing is. And it's been more of just a cop out diagnosis. But when people really truly understand the way that stress works inside the body, and the way that your endocrine system and the way that the limbic system works and the way that the hormonal system works in response to stress, I think that people understand better why it's something that they need to pay attention to. And to that point, this season of time and this season of out of the ordinary stress, I'm not going to say it's a good thing at all. Like, I'm not going to say that. There will be great things that come out of it. Obviously, one of the things that I am thankful for that it is showing people is where their weak areas are when it comes to stress. Like, so one thing that is the most beneficial thing for a person when they are working on getting out of their stress or learning how to be better about managing their stress is to actually acknowledge and know what they're stressing about, and to know that they're even stressed at all. A lot of people that I've worked with over the years, when you say, oh, well, part of this is a stress response in the body. I've never been like, oh, you're just stressed out, girl. You need to just get over it. But saying, hey, this is how stress works. You are experiencing a stress response. And I have heard multiple times, oh, I'm not stressed at all. Because as humans, we, like, Dr. Jessica said, people going, oh, well, I didn't know there was anything wrong with having my kid out till 10 o'clock at night at sports and burning the candle at both ends. It's just what we do. And just because it's something that's common doesn't mean it's something that's normal. And it doesn't mean that the body isn't adapting to it. And just because for you it is a normal thing, a common thing.
Whoops. Did we lose Dr. Jim Bob? Are you guys, Jim Bob, I think you cut off there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, somebody's trying to call me. I didn't set up Do Not Disturb on this, and I don't know why. So I totally did that. But like what I was saying is, one of the things that is a gift about this season of time right this second is just that people realize that they're stressed. Like being able to actually see that they're stressed and know that they're stressed, that's a gift in and of itself, right there. And so, that's step one of even managing it at all, is even acknowledging and knowing that you're stressed out. But, to speak for just a second about what stress does, I mean, on the basics, the higher your stress goes, the lower your immunity goes. The higher your stress goes, the lower your digestive system goes. So stress goes up, digestive function goes down. It's literally an opposite controlled system. The higher stress goes, the lower your respiratory capacity goes down. And again, like Dr. Jessica said, this is a respiratory virus, that we're fighting. So stress literally is the opposite of everything that we need in a season like this. But it's hard because you take people out of their ordinary, structure, their ordinary schedule. You put them in a closed environment where they aren't getting nearly as much movement. They're not outside as much. I don't know about everybody else, everywhere else, but in Texas, it's been raining for 2 weeks straight on top of all of this craziness. So again, it's like no sunshine. And then,
like Canada for a bit.
Right? Yeah. It's like when we're in here with our kids, I mean, we obviously love our kids a ton, but all four of them, all of us in together, we have to be a lot more creative about outlets and stuff like that, because it is just more stressful. And so, people being able to go, hey, okay, look, we're stressed. Just acknowledge it. It is a thing. But doing things consistently throughout the day, every single day, to help the body stay on top of that stress so that it doesn't create a symptom. Because if stress is there for very long, whether it's and you not getting something you need, or just the emotional stress of what's going on right now, the longer it's there, the longer the body will start to function abnormally, and you will get symptoms, whether it's a headache or, like breathing issues or a skin problem or a gut issue or whatever the thing. Whatever the thing is, it's going to happen if you allow stress to stay there for very long.
Right. And I agree. I think that on that note, that the other element that would be helpful to address from the standpoint of, as Dr. Jessica said, you mentioned it, where, and I've had this too, where I'm like, no, I'm fine. And then my wife's like, yeah, no, you're not fine. Your stress out, like your response to things has changed. And with this, with the majority of us being home in light of the fact that there's many that are out still running the essential businesses or doing other things in medical services. But for those of you or those of us who are at home, there comes this time where now we got to look at it and we realize, like, when you go on holidays, at least this is my analogy, if this makes sense, that you go on holidays and you're there for a week and it's by like the 4th or 5th day out of the 7 days, you feel like you've like just started to unwind. Then, like, wow, maybe I was actually kind of a little stressed out. So what are some like simple things that kind of indicators that people could take that are not just, oh, I don't think I'm stressed out, but, oh, wow, like my body is showing signs of high levels of stress?
Sure. Well, if you are having problems going to the bathroom either way, like if people start to get constipated or it's easier to go to the bathroom, it's affecting their gut, that could be an issue. If you're having problems sleeping, waking up, starving, like people who, like, if they wake up and right as you get up, you're just like, are ravenous and need food, that's not normal. Waking up in the middle of the night, being snappier or more emotional than usual, just not being able to handle the normal little stressors and like the little things that normally you're like, oh, that's cute, or oh, that's not a big deal, like sets you off, that's another one. There's different things like that that are just kind of the basic things that they can really pay attention to. And I think people, like, you're normal. And if you don't know if you're stressed out, ask the people that you're in the house with, hey, am I stressed out?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, yeah, girl, you're stressed out. Or they'll be like, no, I think you're handling it fine. But I think to, let people grade you, just go, hey, on a scale from 1 to crappy, how am I doing handling stress right now? And they'll be like, you're beyond crappy right now, or whatever.
What's higher than crappy?
Gauge what you need to do.
Right. Yeah, no, that's helpful. So that's great. And I asked because I used to use when I was coaching full time in the gyms, still do this with clients, but not as much because I can see the indicators in them now. But just there was a questionnaire that my coach and mentor used, Paul Check. It was a nutrition and lifestyle questionnaire. It was basically just a couple little questions that you could ask and say, oh yeah, like this is happening, because it's like if you slowly put on weight, you think, oh no, I'm fine, close to fit. And then you look in the mirror, you see pictures of, and you're like, oh, actually, I think I have actually put on some weight, but you don't feel it when it's a slow progressional change. And now it's this abrupt, like right here, right now, we're at home. There's all this unknown, all this uncertainty, the economy, the stress, finances, and you kind of get faced with it right away. And I think I think that's what the majority of people, at least that I've talked to, that are having the hardest time with, is just adapting to those things.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally. I mean, like, adapting is the hardest thing. And I think you give yourself, a few days, or like, I told Cindy and the kids, I said, hey, this isn't what we planned on. This is something that's totally new. And I just told them, I'm going to give you all about 5 days to adapt to this. We're just going to kind of chill. We're going to free flow it. We're just going to let the days kind of do what they're going to do. And I said, then after that, we're going to have structure and routine, and there's going to be more of a schedule so that we all can get a lot more things done. But that whole first week, we got a lot of things done. We had them do stuff. We did a bunch of stuff together. We did things by themselves. We let them like do stuff here at the house and kind of let them determine the schedule for a few days, just to let everybody get their feet under them. And then after that, I'm like, we're back to our new normal routine as it is right now, to give us all some structure and to get things done. And I think we all have to do that. And I think everybody just kind of has to look at that for each area of their life right now. So at work, like, where am I at? What can I do? Find a middle ground, get it done, and do what you can. As far as finances, like, hey, what was I making? What am I making now? Figure out a new plan in the middle of what I need to do. Readjust your budget if you need to. Whatever it takes to be able to make sure you find that kind of new normal, instead of, oh my God, everything's so horrible, there's all this stuff, and freaking out about it. Past when you need to, and things are piling up and things aren't working good, and like, use the dishes analogy, kind of like dishes are flowing everywhere out of the sink, and then by the time you get your head on straight, there's a lot more work to do, versus let's just wash a couple plates a day. You know what I mean? Like, just do a couple things with your finances, do something in the yard. Like, one of the things that we did, literally the only constructive thing we did for the first 3 or 4 days of quarantine, was we pulled weeds in the yard with the kids. We'd been gone for about almost 3 weeks. When we got back, we were already like, quarantine was happening. So we got home from Florida and our yard looked like an Amazon. And so instead of being like, we got to do all these things and all this stuff, we were like, hey, look, let's just go pull weeds in a 5 square foot circle, literally, together every day. And the kids literally said, they're like, man, it feels so good to see progress on something like that, our older two. And I'm like, yeah, like easy
That's
stuff.
cool.
And so now, and it gave their schools enough time. I mean, you just got to give society enough time to catch up to a virtual world where me and Barney have been for a long time. Like we've been doing virtual world for a while. The rest of
Yeah.
society is not used to Zoom and Be Live and all this stuff and Facebook Live and doing everything virtually. And it's just an adjustment. So people will get there, and this will pass. However long it takes. But it is a thing of just giving people grace and time, especially the people in your own house, but giving them grace and time to kind of get on board with it and know where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I think that to echo that with what I just said to Adrian today. I said last week was I didn't think about it last week, but I just kind of realized I'm like, wow, like last week was kind of a free for all. And now it's like, well, this could be this, we don't know for sure. I mean, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 2 or 3 months. And I just said, I just want to be able to have my reference point. And I use 3 questions for myself. And when I coach clients or work with personal training or marketing and business, it's really simple. And it's basically, and you said this, and this is Barney Kuntze's version of it, is what's working, what's not, and what can I do about it, or what is the plan to make changes in our life. And I found that the only way that I could maintain my perspective of what I consider to be sanity for Barney Kuntze is to ask those questions on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, because then it allows me to just get to stay present and focused on providing for my family and just for the man of the house to do my best to be the rock for the house, and so that I'm not getting all over the place. And so whatever role you play in your family dynamic, if you're contributing in whatever fashion, I think that it's helpful to take it and really simplify it, as Dr. JV just said, and then just focus on what you can do. Because like you said, there's all this stuff that's happening. And I talked to one of my former trainers that worked for me at my other gym, and she was having a really hard time kind of holding it together because her mom's immunocompromised, has a cold. She's looking if she gets a fever, and there's all these things. And I said, okay, you just mentioned like 7 to 10 things. What is it specifically that you're really feeling stress about? She's like, it's just all of the unknown. And I said, well, then you got to write down what are the things that you can control and what are the things that you can't control. And it's easier said than done. I'm not saying like, oh, you just magically put this on and then everything's fine. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's only a couple of things that literally stop the stress response once it starts. So once the limbic system starts and you start like firing the stress response, there's literally very few things. There's only like 2 that will literally stop it right away. Physical activity is one, moving and exercise. Like when you get proprioception or movement and you literally like start doing something, you cannot stress and move at the same time. You can stress, then move, stop moving your weights, and then stress, and then move. You can do that, but you can't stress and move at the same time. That doesn't work, and it calms the brain down. The only other thing is actually literally mentally choosing not to stress, like actually making the conscious effort to go, like, I'm not going to stress about it right now, or what can I do about it, or I'm not going to let that get, whatever. And like, whatever your saying is for you,
Yeah.
one of mine is, what are you going to do about it? Like, what are we going to do about it? Well, if there's nothing to do about it, then I'm not going to stress about it. That's
Right.
one of my things. And, I just wrote a blog that I know that we'll get up in today or tomorrow. And that was it. It's like plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's the whole thing. It's like, well, if you're planned and you're prepared for worst case scenario of time, schedule, money, immune system, all those things, then anything less than the worst is still gravy. We're good. And so it's like planning and hoping for the best, still like paying attention and still praying for and believing that things are going to be over quick. Everybody's going to be healthy. Everything's fine. Financially, everything's good. You know what I mean? But it's making that conscious effort and doing whatever you need to do to stay that way. Because I will say, in our house, and this isn't every house, but in our house, like I am the one that is the emotional barometer. Like if I get stressed out, everybody stresses out. If I'm stable, everybody's stable. And it's something that I have to really watch myself. And I think it's a huge responsibility and a huge opportunity as parents and as adults in the house, period, of we have to really watch how we're leading our homes emotionally right now. It doesn't mean that you can't be real. It doesn't mean you can't be raw. It doesn't mean that you can't, like say things like they are. None of those things. It just means like being conscientious about the way that we're leading our houses and what we're saying, what we're feeling, and what we're putting out there in our own home, because our kids right now are rocking it. Like our kids, our 4 kids are crushing life at home right now, and they're doing amazing. And I think that goes back to the fact that Cindy and I handle anything that we're stressed about in private at night. And she and I talk a lot, like we say, like constantly talking about the things coming up. We have a plan for different things if we needed to do different and change and pivot. We're all about pivoting, but we've talked to them. We are acknowledging and like really acknowledging their fears and their stressors while at the same time helping them work through, logically, what the really truth is in each situation, and giving them enough things to really play through, work through, get through. And, it's working for them and they're doing good. And, that obviously may change tomorrow, and we're doing everything we can with that. But I think it's just an opportunity for, adults in the home to really step into that gap and acknowledge and intentionally, set that barometer well, set that thermostat, well, so to speak, so that, we keep that emotional temperature in a comfortable spot.
In check. Yeah, for sure. I think that's great. And, yeah, I think just in a nutshell, from a financial standpoint and health wise, I feel like, I know when I coached clients, I have been professionally for 18 years, not as much now, but I thought I was done with coaching, but I couldn't get away from it because I just love work. So as much as I love online, I still need that human connection. And definitely the two things that would come up is people's perception about how they feel about themselves, and their identity or self-worth, and then also and how they connect their physical fitness and or their appearance, in addition to their finances. And so as you just said, you hit on that. I think if you can get like kind of adjust to the fact like, okay, income's been affected, where can we make some adjustments, with just knowing that you can baseline, at least you're covered. I mean, there's talk, I don't know exactly what the current updates are, but I know that some lenders, in for rent and for mortgages specifically, that there's a grace period now, which I think is good, because if not, there could be a lot of foreclosures. And anyway, so I just think that if you can make that plan and simplify it and then stay focused on it and just being like, at least for right now, this is our plan, then it allows us to be able to change the way we respond to, or hopefully allows us to change the way we respond to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, plans always decrease stress, because then you kind of know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You set your worst case scenario stress, and you have you work backwards from there. That way you just kind of have an idea. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to control it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. It doesn't mean that, everything's going to work out the way you want it to every single time. But at least knowing that you've got your, your stuff set up and everything, it does relieve stress in the moment for sure.
Yeah.
And which can keep you healthy this whole time in the moment,
Yeah, because that's the, like on the virus side, that's what's the people who are most compromised or immunocompromised or already at risk it's getting them. So I mean, that's the big thing, and that's really what I took from your article, or pardon me, your blog, and just Dr. Jessica's, which is really just always washing your hands, keeping your immunity strong or immune system high, and exercising. I've always just been in love with exercise, growing up on a farm, not always appreciating having to weed the garden and feed the cows. But now I'm like, I don't function very good if I don't get some exercise in. So I hope that it doesn't actually get to the point that I have heard from others in Nova Scotia. I know there was a lady that was on here from Nova Scotia. Somebody said that the public trails and walkways and parks, they're now kind of shutting them down. So I hope that at least we can get out.
They're doing that here.
So can you still get out on the street then and go for a walk on the street, or do you think they're going to kind of like, is that, so clarify for me. I know I was talking to you and I were communicating yesterday in text. You said the difference between, in the States, there's martial law and there's shelter in place, because I don't really get it. Could you clarify, like, what does it mean when they say shelter in place? Because I don't get what the difference is.
I'm not a legal genius or stuff on this, but shelter in place is just a actual, enacted, order, an official order, an executive order to stay in home other than essential, essential errands like medical, groceries, that kind of thing. You can still, go in your neighborhood and walk down the street as long as you're staying, away from people or whatever is what they're saying.
Okay.
But they're not recommending being out other than that. And in Texas, not the whole state hasn't issued a shelter in place. I know Dallas County did. I know California has a shelter in place for 2 months. And shelter in place was originally set up for like toxic exposure spills. Let's say you have a toxic chemical truck blows up a quarter mile from your house. They'll issue a shelter in place until they get it cleaned up, and then everybody can come back out. Or if there's a threat in the area or something like that, it's not quite a lockdown. Like lockdown is like, hey, someone's attacking the school type thing or something like extreme.
Right.
And lockdown is everybody inside in an interior room. No one goes in the yard, in the street at all. Shelter in place isn't that. They're just trying to, continually give people more direction on staying home. And I think it's one of those things of like, they're just, getting to the next levels of trying to get people to kind of stay out of the general public. But I mean, again, like what Dr. Jessica said, it really gets to a ridiculous point where I'm not going to say like, oh, people shouldn't stay home. I mean, I get it. If you're at risk or if you're immunocompromised and all that, for sure, stay at home. If you have someone who's immunocompromised and you're around them and you have to get out, come home and take precautions. Make sure you disinfect. All those things. Absolutely. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
But, Dr. Jessica made this mention of terrain versus germ theory. And it's true. I mean, like, this not to go off on a whole tangent on that, but like this whole thing of, oh my gosh, like stay 6 feet away from people, which I don't know who made that up anyway, but like stay 6 feet away from people,
16 hours.
like all of these different things. And this whole, like, we're going to shelter in place is literally going and putting people in the germ theory and saying, hey, if you stay in your home, the germ can't get you. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, like, I'm not going to like figure my out and say, hey, it don't matter. It's going to find you wherever you're at. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's just that's stupid. And it acts like, and it puts all the power on this germ as if your body wasn't created perfectly in order to handle those things. And you didn't have this amazing immune system to do everything. So like my whole thing of like, hey, we're going to put all of our faith in this flattening the curve deal, which is ludicrous. I'm like, I'm glad that they're taking precautions. I'm glad that all the, the communities and the organizations are setting this up. I'm down with that. I want them making progress on that. I'm just saying that you can worry about a germ all day long. But like Dr. Jessica said, if you don't boost up the host and you don't make sure that the terrain, your body is healthy enough, it don't matter what room you lock yourself in if your body's not healthy enough to handle the thing. Like the thing that you have to do is you can wear a hazmat suit all day long every time you go out, and if you don't have a good immune system, it don't matter. Like that's the whole thing about terrain versus germ theory, and they've literally proven that germ theory was a lie, was a farce. Like they've proven this wrong. There's a book out that was written a long time ago called The Curse of Louis Pasteur. It was literally like a vote in Parliament. It had nothing to do with actual science. It had everything to do with popularity contests and money. It doesn't mean that people can't get sick with a germ. They absolutely can, 100%. Right. But why, if that's the case, and if it was all germ, then every single person on earth should have coronavirus right this second and shouldn't be able to control it if it was just a germ. Because the virus spreads so quick, and if it was in Wuhan and now it's in here and it's in Italy, no, like we're weeks into this deal. Like if it was literally there was no issue and your body had no control over this, every single person on earth should get it right now. But why are we standing in a room and like 2 people get coronavirus in an entire state and the other million don't? Well, because it's way more dependent on the host than it is on the virus. But dude, you can get me going on that all day long. I'm never going to come back. So ask me another question.
No, that's good. Tom just put his hand up. Tom, if you wanted to share something.
Dr. Jim Bob, I don't know if you know, but on Pasteur's deathbed, he recanted the germ theory. He said that wasn't true. And there was another thing that happened. There was a medical doctor that was opposing the germ theory in front of the French medical community.
No, that's good. Tom just put his hand up.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you. I think you're getting some feedback there.
Okay. So this doctor, to prove the point, drank a whole glass of water that was contaminated with the cholera bacteria and never got sick. So that pretty much put into perspective the germ theory. Was it really? I mean, yes, I believe we pass the germ on to one another, but that's not what makes us sick. the man's work that I do, Stanley Burroughs, he said it's all a frequency. You pick up the frequency from the person, not the bacteria or the germ or the virus.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that, so Tom, let me pop you back out of here for a second. And then Jim Bob, I had you muted because you were getting some feedback from you. I don't know if you had something playing there. But I think that's what Tom was saying. I have heard that before too. Paul Check used to talk about that pasteurization. Yeah. Is that what the book basically was saying?
Yeah. It goes through that whole story. And I mean, not to get way off on a thing, but there were two scientists at the time studying immunity, Andrew Beecamp and Louis Pasteur, and they were both French scientists. And Beecamp's whole thing was, he was like, why are we freaking out about these germs? We should be worried about the terrain. He was the one that actually had started the terrain theory. But you can follow the rabbit hole however far you want. The terrain theory doesn't lend to vaccines and medication, and the entire industry that we now are all in the middle of, and the entire industry that is literally controlling every minute of our lives right this second, and controlling whether you go to work, and controlling if you have your house, and controlling if you can go to the park, and controlling everything. Like, it all was because of one Queen's vote way back in the day and two scientists. That was it. And he even said that he was all that it wasn't right.
Well, I know, and as much as we want to shed the light on some of that stuff, I think that what I learned too, I went to my office and people were like, well, you should be in quarantine still. I went to my office, I went there to work, it was private. But they just, I think there's just that level of concern and fear and worry and hysteria that's there, whether or not it's right or wrong on both sides. I think that's what the information is that's getting out there. And I had said this, that from a marketing perspective, I'm not saying that I think that there was some okay, at least I don't want to believe this, and we won't go down this path thinking that somebody just made it up and it's out there. But now in the media, there's an agenda always to promote getting attention. And this is getting attention. So this is what's always going to continue to get promoted as the coronavirus. And my point was about from a marketing perspective, I'm just watching this and being like, wow, like this is extremely powerful. This whole idea that's taken over the whole kind of globe and affecting economies and countries all over the world. And I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, yeah, I get that. And I get all this other stuff too, but I'm just trying to, keep myself, rooted and grounded and healthy, and my immune system high and strong. And I think, that's why I'm just so grateful for you guys sharing, because that was the intention, was really just to share some, in my opinion, some voices of reason to give that perspective, because not everybody is able to have that level of discernment when they hear of articles or stories and are not able to dissect that.
Well, and, one thing I would say too is when you look at how much information people are bombarded with today, period in life, but especially even more now in this season, people have got to understand that your brain can only process a certain amount of stuff a day, period. And when you're looking at so many things like flip, and you're scrolling through screens and you're hitting, new status updates and all this stuff, the brain will only really focus on about the last 15 things that you look at, like the last 15 articles or 15 topics or the last 15 statuses or the last 15 IG story, updates or whatever it is. It really can only handle those last ones. And so I think it just kind of lends to the thing of like really being intentional about what we're putting in our brains early and late in the day. And then just kind of like Dr. Jessica said, like, hey, and I tell people, I'm like, I don't want you off social media. Like, most of the most accurate, quick information about what's happening, at least, and a lot of the different governments are coming out on social media. I don't think you should be off of social media fully at all. I do think you need to be really intentional about how you use it, when you use it, how much you use it, and really pay attention to how it's making you feel. And if you're watching something, reading something, and it is not at least giving you either a plan or piece and it's stressing you out, stop. Like, do something different, because it's just everybody's getting sucked into this void and this vortex of information. And the longer this goes on, that will get worse because all the doomsday people will come out and all this stuff. And you got to know, there's always an agenda behind everything. If people tell you they don't have an agenda, then they're lying. Everybody has an agenda. Like, I have an agenda right now. Like, I 100% have an agenda that I want people to learn how their body works, and I want them to not succumb to like stupidness, right? Like, I want them to get Like you just have to be healthy. Get the things that make yourself healthy. That's my agenda. Barney has an agenda to spread information. Like the governments have an agenda. The president of the United States has an agenda. Every pharmaceutical company everybody has an agenda. And if they tell you that they don't, I got no agenda, that's the person you should worry about because they're lying. Because there's an agenda and it's fine.
Yeah.
They should have an agenda. If not, like, what are we doing? Right. So it's just understanding that and keeping your mind right. And knowing that you should start and end the day with things that are positive and uplifting and give you life and encourage you. And then in the middle, just kind of like really steward out how you're doing stuff to, make sure and keep yourself sane and keep yourself focused on what you need to focus on.
Yeah. Perfect. I remember a quote that one of my mentors shared with me that said, when you have a big enough dream, you don't have time for a crisis. Even though technically to some degree we're in that now, but I really think that for me in my brain is I'm thinking, how can I continue to serve my clients, my team members, my members of my team in Young Living, my local clients, my marketing clients, serve my family, help people to kind of traverse through these times and while still being able to share the things that, like you said, that the agenda is to share the things, information with people who care. And so I'm very grateful for you to be on here, Dr. Jim. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you all the time, Barney.
Yeah, cool. So I had asked Gigi Carroll to post this on here. So here's the link. I didn't grab the 2 links for Jim Bob when he was talking, and now I can't even leave a comment now. So I had to ask Gigi Carroll. Thank you, Gigi. You're awesome. And you could just go to his. So I put Dr. Jessica's link on there. It's in the comments. I'll put them on again in the description after. And Tom's website. So if you guys want to go learn about, he's going to talk about the Master Cleanse and possibly some other things. And then go check out Dr. Jim Bob's website. If you just go to drjimbbob.com/blog, you can find the 2 blogs there that are up on the site. And then Dr. Jessica's site as well, because I think that in this time, especially, that you're going to be well served to have, if you're in a really challenged position, then reach out to Dr. Jessica, reach out to Dr. Jim Bob. I know that you open up your membership to help people out right now as a trial, which you'll be able to find that out on the site as well, which is cool. And Tom has the color lamps and the relaxer roller, this awesome thing that my kids knocked over, and there's guacamole on it to use for my feet. And anyway, so I just wanted to say for all y'all in my American slang to go and check these guys out with the work that they're doing. And I'm just grateful. Did you want to leave us right now, Jim Bob, with any words of wisdom beyond that which you already shared with us?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I just think that in this season, you're either going to get better or you're going to get worse as a person. It's just an opportunity to get better. Like, figure out the little weaknesses, and whether it's an emotional thing, a physical thing, or diet stuff, whatever it is, finances. It's a perfect opportunity to go, hey, where do I need to up my game, and where do I need to level up in my life and just be better? And that's what I would encourage people to do. So I'm gonna have to log off and run, but Barney, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And let me see if I can take Jim Bob out here. Okay, he's out. He's good. I think I can Isn't this fun watching Barney try to figure this out and live? Dr. Jessica, are you, let's see. So Tom, I'm going to bring Tom up. He was muted. And did you want to come back on before Tom jumps in? Because I know you've been hanging out there, and then to give you, because I know you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs looking for things to do. So we're grateful for your time, sharing the most precious commodity that we all have, which is time. But did you want to say anything maybe before you kind of jump off? Because I feel like, Tom and I can finish off here, and then if you need to get going, but you're welcome to stay. I just thought Jim Bob was mentioning you a couple of times. So I thought, did you want to share anything else? And I realized that you're still muted. Can you go ahead now? Yeah, you're good now.
Am I good? Yeah, my article actually goes into the history of the 2 docs and the War of the World, so to speak. But so enjoy reading that one. The biggest thing, I can speak to the women for sure. I take care of a lot of men. You guys are easier, I think. But women, check in with yourselves and see where you're physically feeling your stress. So important to understand where you're physically holding it. And that's where the breakdown physically starts to occur. And where I find a lot of times in my office, pain is a response to emotional stressor, and everything can be triggers. And this can be a huge trigger for women who have, or children who have now grown up to be moms, who maybe had some abuse in the past. It's a really hard time because it all brings back the cellular memory. So being aware of where you feel your stress and where you feel your trauma, and then applying oils to allow that to dissipate. I love release. I love purification. I love Endoflex because, yes, right now this is a huge hormonal stress, and Endoflex and Awaken are the two oils that I use continuously to help my patients balance their hormones. If you're finding that you're kind of physically breaking down a lot more than you anticipated during this time, I do love Dr. Carolyn Mean's book, and MEIN. She's another chiropractor. She's absolutely brilliant. And she put together a whole book that talks about the pain points of the body and the emotional components, and then what oil to apply to those points so that you can release that emotion and then you don't have the physical pain. But now, even though we are secluded, now's not the time to seclude yourself. And now it's time to reach out, especially if you're needing help, especially if you've had, crises. This is not the time to think you can, woman up and handle it on your own. Please do.
Sweep it under the rug.
We are here.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, and I didn't mean to talk over you. I just said it. Now is not the time to sweep it under the rug.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, it really, to some degree, it's never the good best time in my opinion. But sometimes it can serve you because it's just, if you're feeling overloaded and you don't have the physical, mental, emotional, even spiritual wherewithal to actually deal with whatever's happening, then it can, but not to store it there long term. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure, guys, I already said this, but I know there's quite a few of you asking for links, and I can't. This is frustrating, but again, this is a great platform. I just can't comment, nor can I see the comments are coming through, but they're not in real time. So if I'm not bringing up your comments or asking questions in time, don't take offense in any regard. But I will put Dr. Jessica's link. So it's great. So she was talking about Louis Pasteur, which, if you haven't made the connection already, that's where pasteurization, that's where the term came from, and the doctor that was behind that. So it's great to be able to learn and look into that more on Dr. Jessica's site. And then Dr. Jim Bob had those two blogs that he had mentioned, and I'll make sure those links to your sites, guys, are on within the description of this after, so it's easy to find.
And I'm going to stick around because I'm fascinated by Tom. I want to hear what he says.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll put you back in the waiting room. Practice. I got my red hat on here. I'm in control. I can turn things on and off. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to mute you, Dr. Jessica. You're still here. All right, Tom. It's just us two Canadians. We can talk about the Americans down there because Jim Bob's gone and Jessica's muted. So, so you got the chance. So let's hear it, because I always appreciate your perspective as well. And you said before, so your 40 years of experience is in doing fairly advanced work on a health level for people. So I don't know that you mentioned about your book, but because I know there's a lot of people that like, oh, the Master Cleanse, and they don't realize that you're the dude behind it that wrote that book. Yeah. Cool. So tell us about that, because I know that this is, Young Living community is familiar, or the majority of us are familiar with the Master Cleanse, but I also know there's going to be, hundreds, possibly thousands of people that are like, what the heck is that?
Well, first of all, there would be no Young Living if there were no Master Cleanse. Gary Young, after his accident in 1973, was paralyzed. And 2.5 years later, he decided that he had tried a couple of times to commit suicide, and he had failed, thankfully. So he decided to go on the Master Cleanse to starve himself to death. And after 256 consecutive days of being on the Master Cleanse, he literally got up and walked away from his wheelchair. And was his beginning into the alternative healthcare business. He then went to Stanley Burroughs, who wrote the book Healing for the Age of Enlightenment. And Gary was taught by Stanley Burroughs how to do VitaFlex using color therapy and the use of the master cleanse. Stanley Burroughs said, and I wanted to talk about him a little bit, was that all illness is simply caused by frequency. You pick up the frequency from the person, not the germ. The germ is just the physical representation, but it's not the germ that makes you sick. You get the germ after you're sick. So if disease is a frequency, what are essential oils? Well, essential oils basically all are frequency as well. In a sense, what that is really light or color. If you've seen how they test an essential oil, one of the tests they do is a GC or a gas chromatograph. They actually burn the oil and see what frequencies or colors of light are released by that specific frequency or that specific oil. And that those colors and their lengths of color that they last, how long that percentage of the time that specific color lasts while they're burning it, will tell you the percentage of that compound. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about like this pandemic has been expected for years. I'd say for decades. The thing is that people have been ignoring all of the signposts along the way. I knew this was coming. I have several hundreds of bottles of essential oils because I know there'll be more than just myself to in the future to treat. So like the World Health Organization has said, it's not when it's, if this is going to happen, it's when. And, the thing is that the population of the planet has been increasing. We're becoming more crowded. Resources are being used poorly. And people are not really taking care of themselves as well as they could. And as a result, these circumstances lead to viruses, bacteria, diseases, or whatever to proliferate in this in these circumstances. Like the I believe that the people saying people don't watch their words and they say that's crazy. I'll talk to somebody and they'll say that's crazy 5 or 6 times in a conversation, and I'll go, is that really crazy, or is that wonderful, or is that unusual, or that's strange? But saying that's crazy all the time has created what now people are describing as crazy times. I go, well, of course they're crazy times, because when you've got millions of people saying that's crazy all the time, the direct outcome of that is craziness. Now, many of you have maybe read or know of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. Now, she says influenza is a response to mass negativity and beliefs, a fear, belief in statistics. It's like being under the influence. Like if you watch TV all the time and they're telling you you're going to be sick, you're going to be sick, you're going to be sick, the economy is going to fail, you're going to buy into that. Yeah. That makes you sick. Influenza is being under the influence of the masses. So the thing is not to pay attention to that. You can listen to it, but you've got to just say, that's just stuff. That's not my stuff. The affirmation that she has here is, I am beyond group beliefs or the calendar. I am free from all congestion and influence. Now, there's an oil that the Roman legions used to wear before they went to war. Because when you're going to war and you're fighting for your life as a business or as a job, wouldn't you want something that gives you confidence and courage and strength? Well, that oil is called, guess what? Roman chamomile. And why is Roman chamomile so calming? Because when your fear level or your stress level diminishes and drops down, you become more calm. So an essential oil that can help this very quickly is Roman chamomile. In color therapy, it's the color yellow. Yellow encourages and brings confidence and courage into your psyche. The color lemon, which is the color green, yellow combined, like people in layperson's terms, that would be lime. The color lime green is the color that helps you to think more positively. So yellow is for confidence and courage.
I put some peppermint on.
Pardon me?
I just put some peppermint on when you were talking.
Well, peppermint, of course, stimulates the body, gets it sort of ready for taking on new, projects and things in your life. So,
getting ready for my workout soon.
right. So we really have to watch our words. One of the things I've done is, and Dr. Jim Bob and Jessica talked about, is like, I will use like an affirmation, but I'll do something like, I'm willing to release the need to worry. And that may sound counterintuitive because you're using the word worry. The thing is, if you're holding on to your worry, your fear, your anxiety with such intensity, you can't sort of put calmness and easy reflection on life, that all is well. You have to let go what isn't working to make room for what does work. So I'm willing to release the need to worry. I'm willing to release the need to worry. And then you can follow up with, I'm safe and secure. All is well in my world. If you're worrying about something you can't change, that's insane. And if you're worrying about something you can change, that's insane. So if you can change it, do something about it. If you can't, don't. And so it's a matter of changing the way we perceive the world, because the world is what you see and what I see are completely different, even though we may be looking at the same thing. They did this study with cats. They took kittens and raised them in an environment where there were no vertical lines, no posts, nothing. And after 6 or 8 weeks, they put these cats into a room that had posts, and the cats walked directly into these kittens walked directly into them because they could not see these posts, these vertical lines. They were blind. And we become blind to seeing things around us because we don't have the perception. And we have to change our perception that life is wonderful, all is well in my world, and everything is working in the divine right order. Those are simple things that you can do. There's other things you can say. Those are just some of the things that I use. But I strongly urge people to pick up, her book. This book has sold about 60 million copies worldwide. So, that many copies have gone out. There's got to be something good to it. So, as I said earlier, Pasteur, recanted the germ theory on his deathbed. So this whole thing that, yes, there's germs, there's viruses, there's bacteria, but from what I understand, we can have literally millions of viruses in our body and not get sick. How do we get sick? Well, when our body becomes acidic, when we drop below about 7.3 and 7.4 on the pH scale, like below 7 is going into the acid level. When we become acidic, we create an environment that yeasts, molds, funguses, viruses, bacteria, and parasites proliferate in. I had a naturopath who wrote to me, and he was testing his saliva and his urine daily, and his pH was 6.5 every morning on both of them. And he went on the master cleanse, or the lemonade diet, which I'll talk about. He went on it for 10 days, and every day while he tested his pH level, urine and saliva, his pH dropped to 6. And a lot of people go, oh, that's terrible. And I go, no, that's wonderful. Well, what do you mean? And I said, well, he's on a cleanse. He's detoxifying. That means the acidity is leaving his body. And sure enough, he said later on, as he said in his email, when I came off the cleanse and started eating, my pH now started testing 7.0. 7.0. So he went from 6.5 to 6. So he was dumping acidity. And when he went back to eating, his pH now jumped up to 7. So if you have your pH, 7 and above, or, hopefully between 7.3 and 7.4, I truly believe, this is my opinion, you cannot get sick. Your body won't allow it. The body is this creation that's been, through evolution, has been around for thousands, millions of years, and life has been around for, millions and millions of years. We're not, a freak of nature. Where our body was designed to be healthy, to stay healthy, and when we die, to die healthy, not die sick. And so the only way we can do it is by keeping our body alkaline. Now, one of the ways to do that, so, where's my book? I put my book somewhere, is to do the master cleanse. Now, the thing is, the master cleanse, lemon is an alkalizer to the body, even though it's an acid food. The thing is that your mind is more powerful than any glass of lemonade or any essential oil or any therapy you can imagine. If you think negative thoughts, fearful thoughts, hateful thoughts, vengeful thoughts, your body goes acid. You could eat a completely 100% alkaline diet, and still be acidic because you're thinking negative thoughts. So we have to adjust to mind, body, and spirit, all three things. So in mind, we've got to focus on staying in our hearts, using love, connecting to people. And most of all, actually connecting to yourself. If you can't, the thing about love is you can't give it away unless you own it for yourself. It's the same thing for money. I'd like to ask all of you to send me $1 million right now for this. I think I'm worth it. Oh, you don't have $1 million? Well, you can't then send me $1 million because you don't own it. It's the same with love. Own the love for yourself, and then you can pass it on to others. So very quickly, that's, sort of, on the mental emotional level. On the physical level, yes, we need to do things to exercise. We need to exercise. We need to have good quality water, stay hydrated, adequate sleep. 8 hours a night is not by any means too much. Some people try and get by with 6. That doesn't really work. Try and get, at least. So essential oils. Of course, essential oils are going to, I believe there's probably 1, 2, 3, or 4 essential oils that will probably do away with this virus. I don't know what they are. If I were going to be using oils, I wrote a list. I would try lemon, clove, oregano. There's various eucalyptus, melissa. And if you can't buy melissa, you can always use hope or forgiveness. The white angelica is more of an emotional oil to keep those negative thoughts and away, thoughts and feelings away from, being inundated by other people and TV and radio and whatever. Highest potential. It could be transformation, release. Jessica, mentioned a number. I like to use acceptance and abundance. That's a lot more for, for me, you want to create wellness in your life, use abundance, focus on wellness, and then use acceptance to receive it. So there's lots of things that you can do. There's, I'm sure there's 20, 50, 100 people out there say, well, what about this one? What about this one? And I'm sure they will all help. Every oil has its unique sort of place in healing or addressing problems in the body. But every oil can help, I believe, just about any situation. So it's not necessarily excluding anything, but it's finding those that are best suited for the situation you have. Some people do muscle testing. Some people do, intuitive, of picking up an oil. They'll have several oils out and intuitively grab one. Sometimes it's just having the essential oil that's in your pocket. But the thing that I believe is the most effective on the physical level is to alkalize your body, and that's to do the master cleanse. And the master cleanse is very simply drinking lemonade, which you make with maple syrup, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and water. Some of you may feel concerned about. Somebody asked about what about Laurus nobilis? Of course, people have used that more as an emotional oil to give you sort of strength and confidence to move forward, to give you, I think, worthiness. But getting back to the cleanse, oregano came after clove. Thyme you could throw in there as well. Eucalyptus, melissa. I'm responding to some of the notes I'm getting here.
Yeah, no, that's good, Tom. I just put it
they did a study. Okay. They did a study with maple syrup, and they found that maple syrup is anti-diabetic and anti-cancerous. And the reason that is because maple syrup, all they've done to it is extract the water. And in fact, while they make maple syrup from maple sap, there are compounds in maple syrup that are not found in maple sap. Now, a study done more recently, which I haven't seen, some people wrote to me and phoned me and told me that this doctor did a study and found that there are compounds in maple syrup that make antibiotics work 10 times more effectively. So there are compounds in maple syrup that seem to help your immune system. Well, I mean, I've treated people who are terminally ill, sent home to die, given a week to live, cancer, diabetes, who have done the cleanse and reversed their conditions. My first wife had cervical cancer. She was told she had to have a hysterectomy immediately in the next day or two. Did the cleanse, used color therapy, and worked intensely on the mental and emotional issues that brought it about in the first place. And she had 2 children 11 months apart within, well, the first child within 9 months and the next child within 11 months. So this program works. I myself have not seen a doctor for 40 plus years. And before that, I was seeing a doctor every month. I was taking antibiotics. I had, a prostate infection that lasted for months and months and months. In my training, I went on the Master Cleanse, and in 3 days, all my symptoms disappeared. It was, life-changing. And that year, I later went on to do 100 days of the Master Cleanse, not at one time, but in a period of 1 year, I did 100 days in total. I've known many people to do 100 days in a year, and the longest that I know is one woman out of Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia area, and she did 372 consecutive days, and she didn't want to stop because she felt so well. And so, if you really want your oils to work, that's one of the things I've seen. Your oils will work 2 or 3 times more effectively when you start cleansing, because when your body becomes alkaline, there's no resistance to the oils working immediately and to where they need to go or where they should be directed. But when your body is acidic, it slows down their absorption. So I had a couple of other things I might. Do you have anything you wanted to comment on there, Barney? I've been kind of yakking away or talking quite extensively.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just gonna let you go. I didn't want to jump in on you there. I changed locations. I pulled a Houdini while you were talking.
I can see that.
I recorded everybody saw on the camera. I just moved. But this one here from Vicky, just saying, what can you do if citrus causes you to get gout? Any of our wild products that has lemon or any citrus causes my husband's gout to flare. So I think you should clarify this, because I don't think she picked up on the fact that the lemon, it's actually the juice of lemon. So maybe you should just kind of summarize what the Master Cleanse actually is.
So the Master Cleanse is a diet of, as I said, of maple syrup, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and water. And it has to be freshly squeezed lemon juice. You can't premix it. You make it and drink it. So lemon is an acid food, but it's alkalizing to the body. So what that means is that whenever we eat a diet high in acids, all animal products, all processed foods, white sugar, white flour, white rice, all dried beans, almost all grains and almost all nuts are acid forming. She wanted to see the book again. You can find it on Amazon. I do have a few copies here for sale if you go to my site.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, oops, I just dropped my phone, sorry. What you're doing when you're on the cleanse is that you start to eliminate waste. The first cleanse that I did, I lost 9 pounds. About half of it was just stuff going down the toilet. It was frightening. I would look back there and go, what? I was doing the cleanse to prove it would not work. But as I was doing it and getting healthier and healthier, I became, more and more convinced that I really knew nothing about health, and everything that I knew was now sort of turned upside down. I was doing everything wrong and getting everything right.
Right.
Somebody's writing the book again. The book is called The Complete Master Cleanse.
Yeah.
You can buy it on Amazon, The Complete Master Cleanse. So the cleanse what the cleanse does is you're hydrating your body with the water. Lemon and cayenne break up and loosen mucus and wastes in your body. You have to take an herbal laxative twice a day, every morning and every evening, which makes your body eliminate what's being loosened up. This is critical. You have to take a laxative. Now, people say, well, what about the salt water flush? If you don't know about this, the salt water flush is where you drink a whole quart or a liter of salt water mixed to the salinity of ocean water. It's I use 2 rounded measuring teaspoons in a quart of water, and you drink all of that in about 20 minutes. But that does not have to be done. That's an option. You have to take the laxative every night and every morning. But if you don't want to take the laxative in the morning, you drink the quart of sea salt water. And usually within an hour, you start to pass it. And an hour later, you are sort of some people say like gushing out your rectum. You're just passing out, all this water. It will drag out mucus and slime and sometimes parasites, whatever. But the idea is you're cleansing your body. Now I have had, I don't know if many of you, some of you may know, I treated Dr. Wayne Dyer. When I met him, he had an incurable leukemia. He was dying. He was in such pain he could barely walk. And he did 20 days of the Master Cleanse, and I was treating him at the time. On the 21st day, when he got out of bed, he said, my back pain is completely and totally gone. And not only that, I don't even have any stiffness in his back. And this was a man that was using a wheelchair to get around. Now, his leukemia went away. Like normally I've seen people will do it for 10 days. I've had people with leukemia go to their cancer clinic, and by the 10th day, their leukemia is gone. I'm not talking, this is theory, I've seen it done. So somebody's asking what kind of laxative, an herbal laxative. The one that I like to use is called Swiss Kriss, and that's spelled with a K, Kriss. And you can buy it in tablet form. And in tablet form, it's easiest to regulate the dosage. And I'm going to recommend anywhere from 3 to 6 tablets each dosage twice a day. So if you think you're fairly, your colon works fairly well, you should be able to get by with 3. But if it's working slow, you might need 4, 5, and possibly even 6 tablets to get things moving. And after you get into the cleanse for 4 or 5 days, and if you're taking 5 at a time, you may be able to bring that down to 4 or even 3. But what's critical to this program is that you are eliminating from your bowel. You don't want to be constipated on a cleansing diet. The other thing is you don't starve yourself on a cleansing diet. You have to drink, in Stanley's book, he recommends 6 to 12 glasses a day. I suggest people do at least 8 to 10 glasses a day. You feel better and you will get better results with that. You'll have people say, can I exercise? I go to the gym and I actually can lift more weight while I'm on the Master Cleanse than when I eat. I had a couple of women who were training for a triathlon. The one was doing 24 to 26 glasses a day, and the other one said she was drinking 22 to 24 glasses a day while training. The woman who did the 372 days in a row was running 7 miles a day at the end. She felt so well. Wow. So this cleanse can be done, it should be done for a minimum of 10 days, but can be done, 20, 30, 40, 50 days if you like. You don't have to go beyond 10, but if you're feeling great, I tell people continue. Now, I should put up my Comfort Tone. Somebody's asking about Comfort Tone. No, Comfort Tone is to be used with the ICP. It doesn't work well with the Master Cleanse. When you come off the Master Cleanse, by all means do ICP and Comfort Tone. But it's best to use an herbal laxative, and Comfort Tone is not. Somebody's writing about effects on the liver. I went to Australia about 6 years ago now and was treating a young man who had liver failure. They said he was going to die. He needed a liver transplant. I did 2 Vitaflex treatments a day and put a lot of oils on him. And he did the cleanse for 10 days, as I said, used color therapy, and he's still alive today. His mother sent me a text that said that he had been to the doctor. They did a liver, checking his liver enzyme count. And she said the stupid doctors couldn't understand why it was all normal because he was supposed to die. And I've had this before with other people. If you do this properly, I believe, and you do it long enough, you can pretty much heal just about anything. I haven't, as I said, been to a doctor for 40 years, but I do the Master Cleanse. I like to do at least 3 or 4 times a year. I now have 2 young children, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. They're going to be, 3 and 6 shortly, but I've not been as consistent as I have been normally in the past. However, I'm going out today to buy lemons because if everybody's going to be at home anyways, you might, not going to be going out and eating in restaurants. And, if you can't go out and shop, just get a bunch of lemons and get your maple syrup and stuff. And it's it's simpler than eating. It's less expensive than eating, and you don't have to go out and do all this shopping necessarily. And you don't have to do dishes. And when your energy level goes up, you sleep better, you feel better, and your oils work better. You'll be saying, man, I'm sure glad I did that. As I said, I originally did it to prove it would not work. Somebody's writing, do you eat any food on the Master Cleanse? Of course you do. You eat lemonade, and you eat only lemonade. If you want to turn your lemon inside out and eat some of the pulp and the peel, that's fine. That's what I'll do. That's what I chew on. But no, you can't have Ningxia Red. Oh, but I was talking to Gary, and you might have been around there. It was a small group of us, Barney, and he was talking about
harvest
essential oils, and he said, he said oils don't work very well taken internally if you're eating. And I said to him, well, Gary, what about the Master Cleanse? He said, oh, in the Master Cleanse they work very well because you're not eating, you're only using liquids. And I mean, I've taken as much as mix 20 drops of oregano, thyme, and thieves together, and taken one capsule with every glass of lemonade 12 times a day. And I've done that several times. I've done various blends. I've taken helichrysum, a capsule every drink for, every day, 10 times a day or more for the full 10 days. I try various things. I don't recommend things generally until I've done them myself. So, if you have any questions, in the back of my book, there's my phone number, and people will read through my book and call up and say, I have a special condition. Well, there really aren't any special conditions, that I've seen. If you don't have a stomach, that would be a special condition, yes. But most people I talk to, they have a stomach. Yeah. And somebody's writing, is it essential to use maple syrup? You have to use maple syrup, or you could use raw cane sugar. Those are the only two things that I know. You cannot use agave. Do not use agave. That will cause you more harm than good.
Yeah.
Agave is a sugar that is about 90% fructose, 90% fructose and 10% sucrose. So 10% sucrose will convert to 5% glucose and 5% fructose. So it's basically about 95% fructose. If you think high fructose corn syrup, which is 55% fructose, is bad, then agave is almost double that. So stay away from agave.
And then somebody just said here, Cynthia said, still need lots of toilet paper.
Well,
people who were
yes. And I like to say, better out, Cynthia, than in.
Yeah.
Like, I have people who will call me and they're frightened because they've turned around and looked in the toilet. And it's not only looks bad, but it can smell very terrible. And and when people look at that, they'll go, how can you be healthy with this in your body? Well, you can't be. That's why you're doing this.
Right.
You want to be on. I'm going to have to.
Somebody's calling you right now. Like, I got the book. I want to call Tom.
It's a spam. It's just a spam.
So Tom, there's a couple questions because I have a hard stop at 5, so I got to make sure I'm finished. I originally was going to do 3 to 4, but I knew that when the 4 got on here, it was going to be much longer than that, which is why we had set it up from 3 to 5. So I wanted to comment on this, a couple things, because the Master Cleanse, as I have the suspended comment from Cynthia, is that, when we're talking about what's going on right now, I think one of the things that comes to mind is what I was taught in holistic health, is that it's best to treat the person that has the disease or the ailment, and not the ailment or the disease that has the person. And if you agree with that, and Dr. Jessica, hopefully, because that's been a guiding philosophy for me in that. And I say that to share from the sense that when you're going into sharing all this detail, some people might be coming on now and like, what the heck, this guy's talking about Master Cleanse. They might be missing the correlation of the coronavirus. And I think that with what you're sharing, the benefits is that it doesn't, you get the book, you learn how to do it. You can do it now that since we're at home, and it could be a good time for those of you who have been thinking of doing it, to kind of force yourselves in a position where you're already at home, and who knows for how much longer this whole thing's going to last. But they could be a good time and a good opportunity. But a lot of what you're saying, if this makes sense, is kind of a bridge to what you've been saying, is that it really just helps to take the load off so that the body can utilize, digest, assimilate, metabolize, and eliminate more of what we take internally, whether it be food or liquid. And then why I wanted to get to this comment here from Cynthia, which is about the supplements, because I think that the answer, probably you can answer, but I'm pretty sure that it's no.
You generally don't take any supplements. You can take herbs, you can take essential oils, and you can take enzymes, because none of those interfere with cleansing. It's like you can't run and walk at the same time. When Dr. Jim Bob was saying you can't stress and exercise at the same time. If you're eating food, you're into digestion. If you're on the cleanse, you're into cleansing. And they don't go together. They don't mix. So you stop your supplements. Enzymes don't cause digestion. Essential oils don't cause digestion. And herbs don't. All of those are so simply utilized. They're in there. Most of them are in there. Enzymes actually aid digestion, and essential oils are already in their simplest form, so they don't upset that part of the body.
Right.
So it's best not to use mineral vitamin supplements. Somebody wrote about, what about hypoglycemia?
Yeah, I was going to pull this up.
Hypoglycemia, I've seen it, probably 50, 60, 70, 80% of the people I treat are hypoglycemic to some extent, because they've been eating through their lifetime white sugar, white flour, white rice. I have diabetics who within 4 to 5 days are off their insulin doing the master cleanse. However, that's not done with maple syrup initially. That's done with molasses. And it is only insulin dependent diabetics that should do, if they're going to do it, molasses. All other people, the best product is maple syrup. If you want to get the best results, raw cane sugar, if you want to make a syrup from it, you can use that, will work as well. But those are the two. And somebody wrote about Manuka. I've not used, so I can't really say. But people like, why not just go with what works, instead of all of these other things?
Yeah.
And the reason why you're doing the cleanse is that because I've treated people who have infectious diseases, and I will have them do the cleanse, put oils on them, and then apparently their condition goes away. I was treating somebody with, she had strep throat, and I, she was on the cleanse, and I said, here, do the cleanse. I gave her some essential oils. I had her gargle with apple cider vinegar and water. And in a couple of days, she went, oh my God, I never have to get antibiotics again for this. I went, yeah, you don't.
Right.
Because she had, and it wasn't me. I never healed her. I've never healed anybody in my life. Please understand that. I only help people like yourself that, Barney, you help people to heal themselves.
Yeah.
The power is within you. You use these tools to your best advantage.
Yeah, the way God designed our body, the way our body's been designed, that the innate intelligence that we have is, and Jim Bob said this earlier, and Dr. Jessica alluded to it, is that our body's ability to have to do what needs to be done in order to balance things out and give homeostasis. That I just wanted to comment on that for sure, on the part about the supplements, because I've had this conversation with some leaders, and they're like, or just people where they're like, I'm going to take it, and then people go on the master cleanse, and if they're not going to use certain supplements, which could affect their business and stuff, and I only had that a couple times, but I wanted to address that because I know that's actually a concern, and it's more from the mindset that it's best to use the supplements that you're taking to supplement your diet or your intake based on what you need. And I have yet to meet anybody. Tom, you obviously are much more experienced in this than me, but I've guided some of my clients through a little mini group master cleanse, and they were just feeling so much better. They took a break, and then when they went back on some of their supplements, their body was utilizing, and they said that they felt like they were getting the benefits that the supplements were meant to kind of deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, sorry, I was just going to say one more thing. That part, it's kind of like with a vehicle. You buy a car, right? And saying, oh, whatever, the oil change, or the company that I bought the car from, the dealership, they're crazy. I don't need to change my oil. I'm just going to change the filter and I'll keep the oil in there, and I'm just going to keep putting in new oil. But if you don't change the filter and the oil that's in there, and you're constantly adding in new stuff, it's just not going to work that well. And in the body, I've noticed that for myself for sure. So I just wanted to add that piece from my health and fitness background, but to complement what you had just said, that it's just a period of time. And also because I know that a lot of people will be kind of like, seriously, like I can't eat it all. And I had that concern. If you're feeling that, I know how you feel, because I felt that way too. And what I found is it was about the first 2 or 3 days that was the hardest to transition, but it was more up here. And then my body started adjusting, and I felt really good. Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple of questions here. Somebody asked, can you drink herbal tea? Yes, you can drink herbal tea. I'm going to get to Vicky's comment as well, but not bone broth. That's a food. Now, the person who's about her, it's Vicky's about her husband. So Vicky, what's happening with your husband is his body is over acid. So when the body's over acid, it's showing up in his big toe. And if you look in Louise Hay's book, it'll explain that. And I don't know if you want me to necessarily say, gout is impatience, dominance, and anger. So those are the emotions that cause gout. Now, when people go on the cleanse, they can do lemon and it can stir it up. Yes, but it'll be the thing that'll get rid of their gout. If it stirs up while they're on the cleanse, then I would be using some essential oils directly on the toes. Now, if before he even goes on the cleanse, he could be using alkaline every day for a week, to just help bring his acidity level down. And that may then not trigger the gout outbreak. So there's actually an affirmation. I'm going to just find the affirmation for gout here.
Well, you're looking that up. I'll just answer these two, and I have a call with a client that I do have to have a hard stop on this. So I hate to end the good thing, but all good things come to an end. And one thing, so Nature Red, Mary, you can't not on the cleanse, only for a couple of days, then you can get back on it. And coffee is not on as well right now. So no coffee.
No. Herbal tea.
Herbal tea.
So for gout, it is, I am safe and secure. I am at peace with myself and with others. So if he's doing that affirmation and drinking lemonade, he may not have any more flare-ups again. But people that I've treated, in the past that have gout, it's usually they eat a lot of animal products, a lot of meat and dairy products, but not always.
Yeah, I think that I think the best thing really at this point right now, because I know we could definitely go a lot longer. If you guys are interested, I feel like this is kind of a rhetorical question, but I'm going to ask it anyways, is if you guys are interested in this, we can do another one next week, like maybe a follow-up, because I know that there's going to be questions, and we wanted to be able to put this out here to give you guys some options for free. I haven't even announced this yet, but I'm going to be opening up the summit for like a 2-week period where you guys can go in and start learning. Because since you're at home, Tom's presentations are amazing that are all in the last 5 years of the summit. He's taught a lot of the stuff more in depth and detail. So Gigi and a couple other one of you guys who are members, summit members, you can access all those. For those of you who aren't, it would at least give you access or chance to access that stuff. And Dr. Jessica's presentations are amazing, and Dr. Jim Bob's. And Tom, what are you putting up there?
My phone number.
Okay, your phone number. Okay, this is, by the way, he's taken, so you're calling him not to ask him out on a date. It's if you need help with the master cleanse. I'm trying to keep things fun and light here because we're talking about poop and toilet paper and parasites. So Tom, I couldn't see that at all. So if you want to put it in the comments after, you can. But you guys, I just, the goal with this was really to share and give you tools that you can utilize and to get, as Jessica said in the beginning, and Jim Bob and Tom, just stay grounded, stay focused, and be mindful of things that you can control. Don't focus too much on the things that you can't. go on to social media as much as you can to just get your updates, but then don't overexpose yourself, so to speak. If you want to, great. But if you can manage the stress, fine. But if not, then limit the stress. I think I'm definitely going to go do the Master Cleanse, Tom. And I kind of feel like, and maybe I think you and I talked about this before, but doing an online group cleanse.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can help facilitate that. I just know that there's a lot of people that do it, and then there's all these questions. And what if I don't do it right? And there's just, especially if you're green, you're probably like, I need to have the detailed bullet, step-by-step checklist, make sure everything's going to be perfect. So maybe what we'll do is we'll follow up on that for that. And Dr. Jessica and Dr. Jim Bob and Tom, if you guys are down with it, if we can find a time next week, maybe we'll do it again. Because I know that there's going to be some more questions that'll come up. Sure.
Yeah, I would love to do that, and I'd love to get a group together and have a few thousands of people doing the Master Cleanse together. That'd be great.
Yeah, we talked about this, just so you guys know. Tom and I met. We're going to Winter Harvest, and I'm sitting on the bus riding from the airport in Spokane. I call it Spokane, but they corrected me and said it's Spokane, Washington, to the farm. And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, he's talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, but who is this guy? And I was like the one man out. I wasn't on the team that was there. It was Fred and Judy Zer's team. And it was an amazing experience. I met Tom. We really connected, and he's been part of the summit ever since. And then Dr. Jessica was referred by somebody else. So I just, this is really awesome. I feel grateful and blessed to be at the kind of the epicenter. I'm not the expert in all these areas, so I'm grateful for you guys, Dr. Jessica, Tom, and Dr. Jim Bob. And
it's 17 hours.
As we say, all of y'all on here tuning in with us, because it does give me a great sense of purpose and fulfillment to help provide just this opportunity for us to all learn. So Tom, last final words of wisdom before we wrap up, because it is 5 o'clock and I've got to jump off here.
Yeah. Everybody, just take care, don't panic, and know that this too shall pass.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, awesome. Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Jessica. She's there. I can see her smiling and waving, but she's not back here. I'll pull you back in real quick so she can say bye. And then yeah, so we'll post the details out there. Dr. Jessica, I don't know, real quick, even though I'm 1 minute over, have you done the cleanse yourself before, the Master Cleanse? Have you?
I have. And the one thing I wanted to say for all of you out there that are panicking over the thought of this, prepare. Like, if that's your thing, prepare to do the cleanse. Don't just immediately think you can go from McDonald's to the cleanse, because you will meet your toilet.
You'll need all the toilet paper.
So start looking at what you're actually eating, because if that scares you, you need to change up what you're eating anyway. So use this as a great opportunity to learn to eat a little differently, so that you can go into that and say, hey, this is fun. This is exciting. I love what it does for my body. And it's a totally different experience.
For sure. No, I think it's great. I think that it would be a good time to do it. And then, I think we can do another one of these things next week, even like around an hour, just short and sweet, because I know we're going to get lots of questions in the support desk. But on that note, guys, I want to say thank you, and you're welcome at the same time. Thank you for showing up, and you're welcome for putting this together for Tom and Dr. Jessica and Dr. Jim Bob. Thank you, guys. And remember that this will stay live on the Summit page, and I'll eventually get it up on YouTube, put it in the private area if something happens. So we still have it. And but you can tag people on it, comment, ask questions, whatever, and let's keep this thing alive, and let's keep supporting each other together as a community in Young Living and just as human beings. Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you too, Jessica.
Well, thank you. All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.